We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right, James. James got some pictures here. I don't think I've seen. James has a 24-foot long, 13.5-foot wide living room with 9-foot ceilings. It's all open to everything. Can I just say that? And we just skip all this? Okay. Yep. And it's about 5 bazillion cubic feet, 5,000 cubic feet. Aesthetics are a big concern, but he really only cares about his seat when it comes to audio quality. He went with SVS SB2000 subwoofers against our recommendations because that says he still went with. So we told him
No. It was just that, it wasn't our suggestion, but yeah, he went with duals.
All right. It was the easiest to place the two in the front corners behind his towers. He did try to place them diagonally opposite corners, but he didn't know how to level match them at the time. So they sounded uneven, but now he has a dead end. AVR X3300W with Odyssey Multi-Q XT32, and it's very easy to level match his two subs. So, should you try the cross-corner placement again? Since he has openings to the dining room, it really isn't opposite corners of the whole space. So would he still get the benefit? And the answer, of course, is no. You don't get the benefit of the across the room placement. If across the room is only across the listening space, it has to be across the entire space. And since you have an unevenly shaped space, there's no way to know where to put it. So you could try it. But
you could also, given the way that things are laid out in this room, you could try having one sub at the front of your room towards the right side of your theater, and the second sub at the back of the room also on the right side of your theater, because that will be more with both subs in the center of the entire open area. Right, that's what we're going after. Opposite sides of the entire open area.
There's like 100,000 pictures in this thing. Are you kidding me? Which one do I open?
9.
That's a lot of pictures.
There's one diagram, and there's 5 of his actual living room setup.
So where are you suggesting here?
If you're looking at the diagram, or if you're just seeing that, he's got his living room. That's where his theater is. Mm-hmm. Front of the living room on the right-hand side of the living room. Back of the living room on the right-hand side of the living room. That puts it more or less in the center of the entire open space. Both of them. You could try that. But since you really only care about one seat, I'd kind of just leave them where they are.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'd let Multi-Q XT32 with sub EQHT, which your X3300W has, I'd let it do its thing, which is set the distances and levels for the two subwoofers independently and then EQ them as one, and do that at your primary listening seat, because that's the only one you care about. Other seats in your living room might have crappy bass that way, but you said you don't care. So there you go.
There you go. So since he only really cares about one seat, would he actually be better off selling his two SB2000s or replacing them with a single PB12 Plus? Wow, he's going to go from that itty-bitty box to that thing. He does have a large space to pressurize, so are the SB2000s up to the task. 5,000 cubic feet. They're kind of they're not really up to the task. You could stack them. That give you like 6 dB more output.
This is a tough one for me because it's like you do still get benefit even just in your one primary seat from dual subs.
Yeah, especially since you're not trying to EQ across multiple seats.
Yeah.
It does sort of help.
It does. This is tough because the SB2000s. The simple answer is, are dual SB2000s up to completely pressurizing to full reference volume of 5,000 cubic foot space? And the objective answer is no.
No.
But they're not so far away from being able to that it's like really easy to say, you must upgrade them.
If you had the SB1000s, I'd be like, you gotta do something, dude. Those things are not even up to the task. But SB2000s are pretty close. So
yeah.
I don't know. I guess if I were going to turn those things in, I would get like an HSU or something that put out more power. If I was going to go to a box that big, I'd probably make sure I could pressurize the space.
It's funny because it sounds like a lazy answer, but kind of just leaving everything the way you have it is really very okay. Like there's nothing about your current
I have
setup
a feeling
with
he might not be okay with okay. I think he wants to pressurize the space, in which case I would. What you're talking about doing is fine. I would also look at
yeah.
HSU. I would at least entertain the idea.
Man, is that a big ugly sub compared to what he's got?
I know. I know. I know.
That is a big ugly sub.
Right, he has a completely separate computer setup with near field speakers that he uses for music listening. At the moment, he's using SMSL SD78 whatever DAC headphone amp, and he uses a what? Are you serious? SMSL SD793. What is that? How is anybody supposed to say that?
SMSL is the brand. SD793 is the model.
SMSL is not a brand. It's not.
It is the brand.
It's not. It's stupid. Whoever's company that is dumb, and everybody in it is dumb. I'm getting tired. Anyways, and he uses a large Marantz model 2238B amplifier to power his near field speakers. While the Marantz amp sounds great, it's too big. He can't even fit on his desk. He'd like something smaller, but doesn't want to give up sound quality. He's been eyeing the Dayton APA 150, the Audio Source Amp 100 VS, and the Rust Sound P75, all in the $160 range. He's leaning towards the Dayton because it lists the lowest THD, which is Total Harmonic Distortion, in its specs. But is that a good indication of the best choice? How important is that THD spec, and what would indicate the lowest noise floor and the cleanest sound quality? First of all, dude, any of these will be okay for noise floor and sound quality. You're sitting like 2 feet away from them. They're going to be pumping in like an eighth of a watt most of the time. Any amp can do what you're asking it to do at this distance. So your amplifier is not the weak link in your chain. It's your speakers and perhaps your other things. How important is the THD spec? I mean, I would like it to be a nice number, but I don't ever buy one based on that. I certainly wouldn't let that be the defining thing I look at. I wouldn't look through all the amps and go, okay, whoever's got the lowest THD, that's the one I'm going for.
Well, it's also highly variable because if you're willing to list slightly higher total harmonic distortion, you'll be able to list a higher wattage number into a given impedance. Whereas if you want to, I mean, I wouldn't say artificially, but if you want to give an alternate rating, you could say, well, I can supply fewer watts into the same impedance with a lower total harmonic distortion.
How this works is this. The marketing guys say, we need to list 100 watts per channel. Right. Make it so that we're listing 100 watts per channel.
That's right.
And then the guys go, the engineering guys go, okay, well, if we measure it, if we do the numbers this way, this is what we get. They go, you can't list, this, and this. Like, okay, hold on a second, let me fix it. Okay, so do this. How about that? Oh, all right. Well, the total harmonic distortion is a little high. Like, oh, no one will notice that.
Or they'll be like, we want to list 0.01 total harmonic distortion. They're like, okay, into an 8 ohm load, we can deliver 83 watts. They're like, well, that's a weird number to list. So what happens if you pump it up to 100 watts? We're like, well, now we're at 0.03 total harmonic distortion. Like, yeah, that's fine. So like that's how you end up with different total harmonic distortion ratings. But that'll be different if you turn down, like, let's say the Audio Source one lists slightly higher total harmonic distortion than the Dayton. Well, if you turned down the Audio Source a little bit, the total harmonic distortion would go down too. So yeah, it's very fluid. What he's concerned with is noise floor. What you would really look for there and it's only a vague indication. It really doesn't tell you. But most of them will list the signal-to-noise ratio.
Right.
And that's a better indicator of noise floor. Now, most of them will list the signal-to-noise ratio at full rated power, which doesn't really help you much, because the noise floor is happening when you're drawing essentially nothing, when the system's kind of sitting there idle. Some of them will show you the signal-to-noise ratio when only 1 watt is being drawn, and that's a little bit more helpful to you. Now, if you can get a signal-to-noise ratio that exceeds the dynamic range of your recordings, right? So keep in mind that a CD recording which is 16-bit audio, has 96 decibels of dynamic range. If your signal to noise ratio exceeds 96 decibels, it's essentially silent because the signal exceeded the noise by more than the entire dynamic range of the recording you're listening to. So all of these, the Dayton, the audio source, the Rust sound, they all list 100 decibels signal to noise ratio. Ooh. They should all be very quiet. Now, Emotiva has a slightly more expensive one. It's their, Bass X A-100.
I believe it's pronounced Basax. I think that's how it's pronounced, Rob.
But yes,
get it right.
A-100 Stereo Flex amp. It's $220, so it's more expensive than any of these, but it lists a 110 decibel signal to noise ratio.
That's for your super tweeters.
Well,
super
it's for your 24-bit audio, which could be as much as 120 decibels dynamic range. So, oh no, you'd have 10 decibels of noise.
Doing Gumby impressions. That's how tired I am. Oh no,
that's right.
God, it brought me back to my.
But that's why I say it's only a vague indication. Now, you will find out there some amplifiers, very inexpensive ones, that are like 25 watts a channel, and they have like 80 decibels signal-to-noise ratio. And you're like, oh, if you actually turn that thing all the way up, you'd be hearing 16 decibels of noise, which is not nothing, right? So it's not a completely insignificant spec. It's a little bit of an indication. But total harmonic distortion really isn't. It's completely fluid, that one.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.